The sky over Times Square ripped open like a living wound, glowing with an unnatural purple light that made the whole city freeze in terror. News cameras shook, people screamed, and soldiers shouted for evacuation. But nobody could understand what they were looking at. In the middle of the chaos stood Ethan Miller, the weakest rank hunter in New York, ignored by everyone, wishing he was anywhere else. The gate pulsed like a heartbeat, calling him by name. Everyone around him heard nothing, but Ethan heard a whisper coming from inside the glowing fracture, telling him to enter. Against reason, he stepped forward, crossing the barrier. Inside, Ethan found hundreds of U.S. military hunters dead, their bodies torn apart. The air smelled like burned metal and rotten meat. A monstrous shadow with no form hovered above the corpse pile and spoke directly to Ethan's thoughts. "Become my vessel and lives." Ethan couldn't breathe or look away. He felt his bones shaking as he accepted. A black mark burned into his chest, and a cold voice echoed, "Contract accepted." He screamed, the gate exploded with light, and everything went silent as New York vanished around him. Ethan opened his eyes in a quiet hospital room, heart hammering against his ribs. The world around him felt unreal, brighter and sharper than human vision should allow. Above his bed floated a glowing blue screen, flickering like a hologram. It read, "Level 1, Quest, kill 3 monsters." Ethan stared at it, thinking he was hallucinating. Doctors rushed in, trying to hold him down, but they could not see the screen. He closed his eyes, but the message stayed there. Panic crawled up his spine. That night, as everyone slept, Ethan heard the floor creak beside him. Cold breath touched his neck. He slowly turned and saw 2 glowing eyes staring from beneath the bed. A black wolf made of smoke crawled upward, whispering his name in Ethan's voice. Ethan froze. The monster smiled, razor teeth shimmering. Ethan screamed and swung his arm, but instead of pain, he felt power burst from inside him like electricity. With one blow, the wolf exploded into dark particles that flew into Ethan's shadow. The screen changed, kill count 1. Ethan realized the truth. He was leveling, and the monsters were coming. Chicago shook as another gate erupted in the sky, spreading panic across the country. News showed elite U.S. hunters rushing to the scene. But within minutes, their screams echoed through every broadcast before static swallowed the signal. Ethan knew he had to go. He left the hospital secretly, masking his presence, and flew to Chicago by night, terrified yet unable to ignore the quest. The streets were empty, abandoned cars still running, bloodstains leading toward the open gate. Without hesitation, Ethan stepped through. Inside was a forest darker than night, smelling of ash and old bones. 3 giant shadow beasts emerged, limbs twisted and jaws wide enough to swallow a man. Ethan almost ran, but something inside him clicked. His muscles tightened, vision sharpened, heartbeat slowed. He moved faster than he thought possible. Shadows surged from beneath his feet, forming weapons. He fought, slashing, dodging, tearing, until all 3 beasts collapsed. Their bodies dissolved into darkness and sank into Ethan's own shadow. He stood trembling, covered in blood and sweat. Outside, military forces thought a secret army had cleared the gate. The world whispered theories. Ethan walked away unseen, knowing no one would believe the truth. Power followed Ethan like a storm. Guilds across America fought to discover the unknown hunter who cleared Chicago alone. Offers worth millions appeared online, promising fame and protection. Ethan ignored them, desperate to hide his identity. But one ruthless guild learned his secret. They traced his hospital records, followed his family, and threatened his younger sister to force him to join. Ethan arrived at the guild headquarters with fear boiling into rage. Inside, Dozens of armed hunters waited, confident they could break him. Ethan stepped forward, shadows rising behind him like soldiers. With a flick of his hand, he let the darkness loose. Screams filled the building as flames of black energy tore through walls and bodies alike. The guild's leader begged for mercy, promising silence, but Ethan's eyes were empty. The building collapsed under roaring shadow fire, dust rising into the night sky. News reported an unexplained explosion, calling it a terrorist attack. Ethan stood in the ruins, watching smoke twist like ghosts. A new message appeared, level up. His hands shook, not from weakness, but from what he had become. The country searched for answers, where the most dangerous power was an American living in the dark. The White House could no longer ignore the pattern. Gates kept appearing, cities kept falling, and witnesses reported a single man destroying monsters no group could handle. The president ordered Ethan captured alive, believing his power could save the nation, or control it. Armored squads chased Ethan across states, but he vanished into the Nevada desert, entering a new gate to escape them. Inside was nothing like the previous dungeons. A long ancient hallway stretched beneath shifting sand, walls carved with human faces that moved when touched. Torches lit on their own, and standing at the end was a creature unlike any he had faced, tall as a man, wearing a crown of smoke, speaking English perfectly. "We've been watching you, Ethan Miller," it whispered. Ethan stepped back, but the hallway sealed behind him. The creature smiled. "The final dungeon will soon open beneath the White House. If you survive, you decide the fate of America." Ethan attacked first, fire roaring through his veins. They clashed, shadows screaming, stone shattering. When the battle ended, Ethan stood victorious, sweat dripping, breath shaking. His level rose again. He realized something horrifying: these monsters weren't appearing randomly. They were targeting the United States. Power surged through Ethan's veins like an ocean of black fire. Every monster he killed returned as part of his army, emerging from the ground whenever he called. 230 shadow soldiers followed him silently, eyes glowing like dying stars. Ethan walked through abandoned American streets, the nation afraid to breathe his name. Soldiers who once hunted him now whispered prayers at the mention of his shadow army, believing he was a demon or weapon of God. Ethan felt split between pride and horror, unsure if he saved lives or ruined them. At night, voices whispered from the shadows, thousands of souls trapped beneath his command. Each begged to be released. He ignored them, pushing forward toward destiny. Cities fell silent as Ethan's army moved through gates, destroying monsters faster than media could report. But the louder his power grew, the quieter his humanity became. He stopped sleeping, stopped eating. His reflection faded from mirrors. He wondered if Ethan Miller still existed, or if only the system remained. The world feared him. He feared what the next level might require. Washington, D.C. cracked open beneath the White House as the ground roared like thunder. A massive gate tore reality apart, releasing heat so intense the air shimmered. Ethan raced to the Capitol, arriving to see hunters, soldiers, and armored tanks firing into the portal. Their weapons melted, their bodies burned to ash. Emerging from the gate was a demon king towering 3 stories high, skin glowing lava red, eyes burning with molten hatred. Ethan felt the city tremble beneath its footsteps. He charged forward alone while thousands watched on live screens, believing America was lost. The demon king struck him, shattering bone and spraying blood across ruined streets. Ethan screamed, each attack leveling him higher. Pain became strength. Shadows rebuilt broken limbs. Ethan rose again and again, refusing to fall. The White House crumbled behind them. Ethan's shadow army overwhelmed the demon king, forcing it to its knees. With a final strike, Ethan sliced through its heart. His screen flashed, level 100. His body shook with overwhelming power. The cheering world couldn't see his tears. Victory felt like chains. He wondered what price level 100 demanded. The night sky over Washington flickered as the Demon King's corpse dissolved into black dust. Ethan stood trembling, surrounded by his shadow army, the White House burning behind him. Reporters screamed his name, calling him America's savior, demanding to know who he was. Ethan ignored them as the system screen appeared in front of him, glowing blood red. Final quest unlocked. Sacrifice the United States or die. Ethan stared at the words in disbelief. His heart stopped. His system had never lied. He felt the incredible weight of the choice crushing him. If he refused the quest, his heart would stop instantly. If he accepted, he would unleash an army that could erase the country he grew up in. The shadows around him whispered, "Choose." Ethan dropped to his knees, unable to breathe, remembering his sister's smile, his mother's laugh, the streets he grew up on, the same land that hunted him. Helicopters circled overhead, spotlights aiming at him like holy judgment. Ethan closed his eyes, tears burning down his face. "I won't destroy my home." The screen glowed brighter. A countdown began. 10, 9, 8. Ethan prayed for another option as the world waited for his choice.